You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone, revisited with Freddy and Joe. Joe.
Freddy! How are you?
I'm good. Yeah?
Yep.
We forgot to mention, we got done with last week's episode, and you were like, Bob Crane was murdered.
That's right. That's where part of it's all like weirdly kind of skeevy and stuff is he was like in a condo and, not kink shaming. I think it was some not good, very not good stuff that he was involved with. So
there's a whole movie about it. I can't remember the name of it, but you can Google Bob Crane movie, biopic maybe or something, but it gets into the nitty gritty of all of it.
Yeah. Bob Crane always looked like Seth MacFarlane looks to me now.
Yeah.
That kind of smile where he's like, hey, classically whatever, but
kind of slightly smarmy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet still charismatic.
Both very distinctive, like clear, really resonant voices. Yeah.
The reason we were talking about Bob Crane, if you didn't listen last week, it was his first TV appearance as a disc jockey in the episode Static. But this week we're talking the Prime Mover.
Prime Mover.
This aired March 24, 1961. And I meant to pull up the definition of Prime Mover, but my understanding is that it's the person in control of a situation, but I could be wrong about that.
According to Oxford Languages Dictionary, a person or establishment that is chiefly responsible for the creation or execution of a plan or project.
Okay. So I give you the dumb version of that definition, I think.
It also is an initial natural or mechanical source of motive power. So whatever that means.
Oh, that could apply to this because we're talking about telekinesis in this episode.
Yes.
This is 4th of 7 episodes directed by Richard L. Bear. For more, if you listen to the 3rd from the Sun, we have a podcast about that episode. That was his very first, and we get into a lot more about him then. 7th of 22 episodes written by Charles Beaumont. For more on him, listen to our Perchance to Dream podcast. The setting of this episode is the Happy Days Cafe in Las Vegas, Nevada, back in the old days when they had the original strip before they destroyed everything, which was probably all B-roll. I don't know if it was even shot for the series.
Right.
All the exteriors. Cast of 10, only 6 are credited. Our main players are Ace Larson, a compulsive gambler who works in this little diner, the Happy Days Cafe. Dane Clark, he's a Brooklynite. He moved to Hollywood because he couldn't find work in the 30s and ended up becoming this average Joe kind of actor guy. Although I think looks like James Caan to me.
Yeah.
When I look at him, I see movie star. I don't see average Joe. But when I was reading, people were like, "Yeah, he's the average Joe guy." Yeah, I'm like, well, he looks like a movie star. So,
he's the average Joe.
Yeah. Are you the average Joe?
As opposed to he's TV ugly, not ugly.
Yeah.
As Simpsons would say. Yeah.
Oh, poor
Mo.
Yes, thank you. I'm struggling for a minute there. I've been watching too many different television programs, and everything's turning into a pop culture slush or slurry in my mind.
Well, when you've got all of them in your brain because you've seen absolutely everything,
it's too much. Yeah,
you are the encyclopedia.
No one talks about the plight of the pop culture podcaster. It's a hard life.
You suffer for your art.
It's true. He was in a bunch of World War II films. Dane Clark. His big one is Go Man Go, at least as far as he's concerned, because it actually meant something to him. It was about racism and stuff, and he felt like that was a real important story to tell, which it was, especially at the time. But that's Go Man Go. He also is going to turn up in Night Gallery, which is basically Twilight Zone season 6.
Nice.
1955, he was in a stage production of The Strike in L.A., and his co-star literally died in his arms on stage during a love scene.
Whoa.
Isn't that insane? She had a brain hemorrhage.
How does that happen?
A brain hemorrhage.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's... and what do you do in that moment? Like, on the stage.
I
I'm
think they
very curious.
close the curtains would be my guess.
Wow.
They must call for something. I mean, it happens. I've seen it happen in media. Someone die on stage, and it's usually like a scramble, you know.
Wow.
I can't imagine what it was like in real life. Isabel Bonner was the actress's name who died. I thought that was real interesting. So that had happened to him just, 6 years before this episode. In an interview, he said that, this is funny. He and Ida Lupino fell in love, right? And they were going to, I guess they did get engaged when they were making the movie Deep Valley. She took him home to meet her family. And he said that they were all leeches and freeloaders and called off the wedding.
Whoa.
And it's another Twilight Zone connection. We have already talked about Ida Lupino on the show when we covered the 16 millimeter shrine. So they were still kind of, I guess, running in some of the same circles at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. Leeches and freeloaders.
Wow.
You
Okay.
you know what? You hear that though a lot about like successful entertainers, that sometimes that'll happen. The family turns into being these complete dependents on them because they have so much money, and they're like, why would you continue your old life if you have someone who's like, I'm just gonna take care of you?
Right.
But then again, I guess pride comes in at a certain point.
Man.
Was given again, we're off Ida Lupino and back to Dan Clark here. Jack L. Warner I've been watching old Warner Brothers movies with Amy lately. And it's interesting because we watched Dr. X and which I'm not sure is Warner Brothers, but I think it is, and The Mystery of the Wax Museum. But Jack L. Warner has just kind of like been popping up in a lot of things I've been reading lately. But he gave this actor a 1948 Buick Roadmaster as a birthday present. It's a pretty good birthday present.
Nice.
So apparently this guy was pretty connected. He has a star. We're going to note that there are, I think, 3 or 4 of these actors have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This is the first one in this episode.
Nice.
Jimbo Cobb. Sorry. This is the good old Buddy Epson, who I've been revisiting the Beverly Hillbillies because I wanted to see it as a grown up and see what I got out of it. I've watched quite a few episodes of the first season of that. He's so great.
He's the best. I have such a fondness for this character specifically from that, which it's interesting. It's a kick to see him younger at least.
Yeah.
And he's I love this character in this. Just really real. And I'm sure it's part of why he was cast as Jed Clampett. He's just so lovable. He's just like sweet and kind and thoughtful,
Yeah, he does come off that way a lot. And what's funny is you see him as being older on Beverly Hillbillies, but this was a concurrent thing. Like they were making Beverly Hillbillies at the same time they were making the Twilight Zone.
Wow.
But he plays younger, and I think a lot of it's his surroundings and circumstance in this episode because he's kind of, a roommate with a younger guy.
Yeah.
And living above the diner, you kind of like, you want to hope he's younger than he is. But and it tracks with like last week's episode. Like a lot of these writers, and I wonder if it's from the perspective of maybe these writers have had to live in places like what they depict in some of these stories where they're like, I had to live above a diner for a year or 2,
Yeah.
You do get the impression that that Jimbo and Ace maybe own the place.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Maybe they just don't have a lot of customers, but they own the restaurant, the cafe.
Yeah. Broke, but they have that. Buddy Epson, he began his career, he was a Broadway dancer. And then MGM snatched him up. They put him in The Wizard of Oz, but he got real sick from the Tin Man makeup they put on him, and they had to recast. But there's still footage of him as the Tin Man out there that I have yet to look up, but I'm sure it's on YouTube because it's supposed to be on like bonus content on the Blu-ray of Wizard of Oz.
That's wild.
What could have been? Although the final Tin Man, Jack Haley was pretty great. So
yeah.
The 50th anniversary of the video release has the footage of Buddy Epson as the Tin Man. He's the second one to have a star on the Walk of Fame. Then we have Kitty Cavanaugh. She's a server at the Happy Days Cafe, and this is the first of 2 appearances by Christine White, who's going to come back in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet with William Shatner.
Nice.
She's known for Magnum Force, the Dirty Harry movie, There was a TV series. She had a sitcom called Ichabod and Me. And prior to that, she had been on the General Electric Theater, one of those where they just cram out, they spit out dramas every week or whatever.
Is that like the equivalent of a Hallmark these days, maybe?
Yeah, like a Hallmark, or even kind of like what Serling came out of making, prior to the Twilight Zone, that sort of thing. Anthologies again. But Ichabod and Me was a sitcom about a little newspaper in a small town. She's in that, and I found it on YouTube, and it's a real sweet little show. I picked an episode at random, and which goes to show you that I think the algorithm has us pegged, because the one I picked at random has Rod Serling in it as an actor.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I sent you the link, Joe. It's so interesting to see him play. He's playing a writer, and it's clearly very much like it feels like it is like a stunt casting like they would do on Will and Grace in the 90s.
Yeah. It was funny to see him doing something other than being in the black suit and everything.
Yeah. He was making spaghetti for a party.
Yeah.
Did you watch the episode?
I did. I just watched the clips with him in it because I wanted to see, because there's, what was the combination of names in there? It was Rob Sterling was the star, and Rod Serling appeared in it.
Yeah. But she's great. Christine White. She's really, I could see how she could carry the series. She's much more subdued in this episode of the Twilight Zone, playing kind of, I think knowing to hold her character kind of back somewhat, maybe.
Yeah.
But she's very bubbly and fun kind of personality. I highly recommend if you like classic sitcoms. Ichabod and Me was real fun.
I'd also like the strength of her character in this episode too, because she's not there a lot, but she just doesn't take any shit. She's like, no, I'm going. Like, wow, that's awesome.
She's the moral center of it, kind of, in a way. Jimbo tries, but Jimbo's a pushover. So Kitty is the one who really kind of brings them in line. Yeah. Not forcefully, but just by being herself. Big Phil Nolan is the biggest gambler in Las Vegas. This is the second appearance of Nesden Booth. We talked about him in Escape Clause. Kind of a big guy. He has a great line in this when he's talking about his henchmen. He's like, they don't eat.
Yeah. And he's like, they don't eat. Like, I wonder if there was some topical thing of the time too, because he kind of pauses there as if he's waiting for the laugh or something.
You know what?
I don't know. I
think it's just that these guys are subhuman to him. You know what I mean? They're servants to this mobster kind of character. He's like, though they don't eat. They don't watch TV. They don't eat. They stand in the back of the room.
Yeah. And Ace was just people. Like, they don't eat. But, oh, okay.
Ace is funny as shit. I think that I've already Dane Clark. Yeah, I think I've become a fan of Dane Clark. I've seen this episode quite a few times now, and he's so fucking good. He's just so great.
Their timing was great between all of them. His timing with the all the lines and everything was just super sharp. Just kept it moving forward. It was great.
We have there's a trucker character. It's Clancy Cooper. There's not a lot about that guy. Sheila, the cigarette girl, is important to the story. But again, Jane Burgess, very kind of limited career, in and out. And then the hotel manager is Robert Riordan. Again, it's another kind of situation like that, where these are people who maybe didn't have the long resumes or the involvement with the Twilight Zone. But then we have the desk clerk at the hotel. This is the first of two appearances by William Keane. He's going to come back in the Midnight Sun. He's known for Shirley Temple's storybook and lots of TV. You're going way back with Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
He was awarded a star. He's the last one in the cast who got the star on the Walk of Fame. The slot machine in the episode in the diner is the same one they used in The Fever.
Oh,
we talked about already.
Yeah. The opening music and other points in the show, that music, unless, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder on that one too.
Not at all. It gave me a chance to drink some coffee.
Oh, so that was also from, I just recognized it.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for Franklin.
I thought that cue was familiar, but it didn't click with me that they reused it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
All of the hotels that are seen in this, the Las Vegas hotels, the Dunes, the Thunderbird, the Flamingo, gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Probably for good reason.
And the Silver Slipper, which was a casino that was not a hotel, that's also been destroyed.
Probably a whole lot of bacteria that needed to be burned down.
A lot of organized crime probably too.
Yeah. Some bad memories.
Yeah, for real. That is basically all I've got on the production. Do you want to get into the story, sir?
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed here, just looking at Wikipedia, is there's a crash scene very early on in the episode, and apparently, I was wondering if they did it for the show, but apparently it's reused footage from 1958 film Thunder Road.
Oh yeah.
Which I know nothing about, but
It's not
I remember watching the crash scene and going, "Wow, that's really like convincing." It was a bad crash, and I was like, "Did they do that for this episode?" And I was like, "I don't think so. It doesn't seem like their style."
Yeah, they do that a lot. I think they borrow little bits that they can buy from other productions. They're like, why not? Although when they're interacting with the car, I feel like they did a good job of blending it.
Yeah, totally. Because there are scenes where they're actually in with the car, so
and it looks good. All right, Joe, you want to get into the nitty grit?
Yeah, let's start. We start off with Ace sweet talking off screen, talking about how he's taking good care of her and made sure that she was well fed and all these things, and it's time that she pay off. And then we back the camera out to find out he's talking to a slot machine, not a person, which is good. And he drops in a quarter, he pulls the thing and does not win. He gets frustrated, and then he's sweet talking with it again. I'm not really angry. I'm just saying that. So clearly very, very obsessed, compulsive gambler. He goes back over to the counter to ask Kitty for a quarter. And there's another guy, the patron there, the bus driver, what have you, was like, yeah, you're going to blow a gasket if you keep going that way. And, so he's like, double or nothing. I'll bet you for your lunch. And, can't help himself. And he's like, and Kitty's, he's like, come on, Kitty, give me the quarter. Cause she's trying to talk him out of it and does the coin toss and loses. So not only does he lose the money from that lunch, but the driver takes the quarter. He's like, hey, that's a lucky quarter. He drops it in. He pulls and wins a jackpot and a bunch of quarters. And then as Ace comes over exasperated, he gives the quarter back to Ace. Thanks. It's like a slap in the face. So another Kitty is a cafe worker behind the counter and appears to be Ace's girlfriend watching all this. Asks Ace, hey, can I leave for the night? Is that okay? And he goes, yeah, I wouldn't blame you, if you would quit. She goes, well, I can't because you owe me 3 months salary, but playfully, yeah. It's kind of cute. And so she heads out and Jimbo, Jed Clampett, Buddy Ebsen, comes in and says, why don't you marry her? And, Ace is over like, with what? I got no money. He's like, she's the best. She deserves the best, which is kind of cute. It's like throughout the whole thing, you get the idea that there's a moment later where you're kind of questioning him and his character, but he really loves her. Like he's totally into her, and he doesn't seem an opportunist. He just seems like, he's genuine with that. So at his core, we think maybe he's a good guy. But serious gambling problem. Moments later, there is a car accident outside, which we see again, clip from Thunder Road, because that car, man, it comes in and it swings sideways and rolls over. It's a bad crash. And it crashes into some like a power station, like one of those power little not outlets, power
substation?
Just like a small power station, not any people there or anything. And there's like electricity zapping around, and both Jimbo and Ace go outside, and Ace is like, oh, there's people in there. Give me a hand, would you? And Jimbo doesn't move. He just kind of looks, and there's a close-up on his face as he kind of contorts his face, and you see his eyes move, and he's shifting like this, and all of a sudden you see the car start to rock, and it rolls back. And Ace is looking at Jimbo like, what? And it flips over, and it's upright now. And there's people kind of slumped over in there. And moments after it flips back over, you see Jimbo like relax, like he's had a lot of exertion. And Ace clipped to moments later, and Ace is like, just like, what is going on? And we hear the voiceover. Portrait of a man who thinks and thereby gets things done. Mr. Jimbo Cobb might be called. I'm going to start over one more time. Portrait of a man who thinks and thereby gets things done. Mr. Jimbo Cobb might be called a prime mover, a talent which has to be seen to be believed. In just a moment, he'll show his friends and you how he keeps both feet on the ground and his head in the Twilight Zone. So it clips to moments later, and then this is Ace and Jimbo in their place, wherever they're staying, apparently in the same room, roommates. And the Ace says they were taken to the hospital, no broken bones, but no, nothing real bad. But he goes, Jimbo, how'd you do it? And Jimbo's like, well, I don't know what you mean. He's like, come on, like you flipped that car over. How did you do that? And he's like, well, he doesn't share much. And Ace is like, fine, you want to keep secrets? That's fine. Jimbo's like, I'll tell you. He says, I've had it, basically ever since I was a kid. I thought everyone could do it. I thought it was just like breathing, he said, but I've always been able to just move things with my mind. And Ace is really curious about it. He's like, well, how I've never seen you do it before. How come you don't do it? And he said, well, I had to stop because I got in trouble in school and I would get these really bad headaches like I have now when I did it. And Jimbo asked him to demonstrate his power again. And so he does. And this whole bed lifts up in front of Ace and Jimbo. And then he puts it back down again. And he's a little bit, you can see he exerted himself a little bit. And Ace says, can you do anything smaller? And Jimbo says, well, yeah, that's even easier. So Ace flips a coin and he tells Jimbo to flip it again, which he does. And then he's like getting exasperated. And you're like, why is Ace getting all worked up? And he goes over to a drawer, pulls out some dice, and he shakes the dice and tosses them. And he goes, make that one a 4. And he does. And he like starts like kind of kicking at the air and this and the other. And Jimbo's like, what's wrong? And he's like, you big dummy, we've been breaking our backs at this cafe for 4 years and we could have been, living the high life. And Jimbo's like, what? How? What are you talking about? And Ace is like, I'll explain later, but just get ready. And he goes and calls Kitty and he's like, we're going to Vegas. Like, get all your stuff together. It's not going to be a long trip. Just get your stuff together and we'll meet you and we'll go. So clip 2, they're in Vegas and they start playing with roulette. And Jimbo makes a bet of $100, which again, 1960 money. That's like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And Kitty's like, that's all our money. And he's like, just trust me on this. And he bets and they win. And he said, me and Jimbo got it worked out. And they start making more bets. And then you see like a montage of him, all these different bets and all this different stuff that he's doing. And you see Jimbo's getting more and more like exhausted, and you can see it like really wearing on him. And they're playing later, and he's got like stacks and stacks of chips and all this stuff. And Jimbo's like, I don't know how much longer I can go. Like this, my head's killing me. And Ace, again, to his credit, he's like, no, we're going to keep. And he kind of stops and looks at Jimbo, and he's like, oh no, he needs help. Like he's recognized it. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, let's call it for today. And so he cashes everything in, and they've got tons, like boxes of money, of cash that they've won. And he turns into the clerk or the front desk, and he gets a room, and they're going to go lay down. And so they get up to the room, and they're all kind of relaxing, and Ace is kind of throwing money around. Hey, get us this stuff, would you? And do this and do that, and the other thing. And being real generous, but like, flashing his money around. And Jimbo like lays down right away. He's just wiped. And so they've been winning basically every single bet they made. They made a ton of money. And Kitty's like, I'm gonna go to bed. And Ace is like, no, don't, poop out on me now. We're just getting started. Let's go paint the town. He's really excited. He's energized by his winnings and all that adrenaline and all the endorphins, I'm sure. And she's like, nah, I'm tired. And Jimbo doesn't feel good about it. Jimbo's like, this is cheating, Ace. Like, this doesn't feel right. And he's like, look, like we're doing great. In fact, we only need to do it one more day. And Kitty's like, well, like, I don't want to do this. What is it? Jimbo's like, he's trying to convince Jimbo to go out and play with him, like go out and paint the town. And Jimbo's like, my head hurts. Like, I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything. And so he keeps pushing for one more big run, even though they got plenty of money. And so I'm trying to like parse out exactly how this happens. Kitty comes back to the room and he's like, well, we just got to get one more score and then I can buy this town. And she's like, you have enough money for the rest of your life, And he's like, no, but I just need one more day of this. And she's like, no, you don't need, like, we have enough money. If you're going to keep gambling, I'm leaving. And he's like, it's just one more score. And she's like, nope. And she actually like takes off and leaves. Jimbo's like, why'd you let her leave? And he's like, wow, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're crazy about her. Nothing else matters. Nothing is more important than her. He's that moral compass.
Yeah.
And Ace, again, was like, you're right. You know what? You're right. And he chases after her, right? And so we see them next in the lobby, and she's about to leave, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry. I just, I'm just excited about it. I want to do, finally make our way for all this stuff. And she goes, are you going to gamble tomorrow? And he goes, well, yeah. She goes, then I'm leaving. Goodbye. And she just takes off, which is, again, kind of awesome. Like, she just bosses out. And he at first is like, gonna go after her, but then the cigarette girl comes up who we saw earlier and tipped, and she's pretty, and she's like, is there anything wrong? Anything I can help you with?
It's so coded.
Insinuation there. Yeah. Little innuendo. And he's like, yeah. And so this is real quick. So this is the only part of his character's a little skeevy. He's like, here, can I pay you to be my accompaniment, my companion for the night? Which it's never quite laid out like what exactly he means by that, but
until he meets her boss. That scene's pretty funny.
And he's like, I want to hire her for the night. Is $1,000 okay? And the guy's like, yes. Is there anything else I can get you?
No.
Yeah. So, she's thrown around like an object. And he says, who's the biggest, Ace goes, who's the biggest gambler in town? He goes, well, Phil Nolan's in town or he says, Phil Nolan's in town. And he said, yeah, I'll call him up, tell him I want a game. And I guess we're just supposed to identify that he wanted to play craps.
Were you a little relieved when you found out that the reason he hired her is because she knew things and not because he was going to have sex with her?
Yeah. It's because she just knew what the town was like. It's like, okay, well, maybe that's more on the up and up.
It feels like there was a shame on you as the audience.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I know what you were thinking.
So they go paint the town. They come back, and it's the next morning, and Jimbo and Ace are alone. So to his credit, Ace is not sleeping with the girl. Or at least not in their room together.
Not that we know of. There's a phone call, though. And so the phone's ringing, and Jimbo makes the phone float over to him so he can answer it. That's the sort of mundane shit I would use telekinesis for, is just lazy shit.
Exactly. Which it's kind of funny. You see it towards the end. He does that again too. So, but that's a spoiler. So they're still playing, or still trying to sleep, and Ace is exhausted, and Jimbo answers the phone, and it's Nolan, and he's like, hey, Ace, it's Nolan, and he's like, let me sleep. It's like, Ace, get up, you got to answer the phone, and we see that moment where Ace suddenly realizes, oh, it's Nolan. This is my big game, and so he answers the phone, and he's meeting with him, and Ace is like, it's me, Ace, from Nevada. Nolan has no idea who he is. Not that he would for any reason, but Ace is trying to make himself out to be a big name, and he's like, yeah, like basically, yeah, you'll take my game, okay? Let's meet this time at their room, blah blah blah. Basically, then we see clip to later where Nolan shows up, and that's when he walks in with all his goons and his goons. He's like, "You guys want anything? I was going to get some breakfast." And Nolan's like, "I'll take some coffee or juice." And Ace is like, "How about you guys?" He's like, "They don't eat." There's this like pregnant pause, and Ace is looking around at like 4 other guys in there. And he's like, "They don't eat."
It's such a good line.
Yeah. So then we clip to, so Jimbo's there, and he's not feeling good about any of this. He's like, isn't this guy a gangster? And he's like, yeah, so he's a gangster, so what? Which again, Ace is just throwing, caution to the wind. Like, oh yeah, he's a gangster. If he were to lose a bunch of money, he wouldn't kill me. He doesn't say that, but you're like, come on, dude, get some common sense. Anyway, they start playing, and Ace is winning and winning and winning and winning. And Jimbo's trying to push back on it, but Ace isn't listening. And the girl comes in for the cigarette girl, and Jimbo's like, whoa, dude, who is this? And Ace is playing it off like, oh, she's my gal, blah, 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 blah. And Jimbo's like, oh no, we're not doing this. He gets this look on his face like, And so Ace gets to the point where he's like, you know what? Why don't we just go all in? Let's just do it for all the money. And at first, Nolan is kind of hesitant, but then he's like, "What are you, chicken?" He's like, "I'm good for it." He's like, "All right, well, are we gonna do this?" And so he picks up the dice, he tosses them, and he's like, "And there it is." And celebrates with the girl and the gangster and Jimbo kind of looks down and off to the side, and Nolan looks over and he goes, "Oh, you're a funny guy, but you lost, basically."
Jimbo tried to warn him too.
Yeah, that's right. I missed that part. So before this, Jimbo was like, "Hey, Ace, I gotta," and he's like, "No, Jeff, I'm just gonna throw." He's like, "Ace, no, I gotta tell you, no, I'm stop, I'm gonna throw."
It's very Scooby-Doo or Abbott and Costello.
Yeah. He tries to give him a heads up. And unfortunately, Ace looks down and is just gobsmacked. He's just his jaws dropped. He can't believe he lost. Nolan's like laughing. All the guys are laughing. They collect up all the money and they leave. The girl's like, "You mean you haven't got any money anymore? You can't pay for me?" And she leaves. And Jimbo's like, "Hey, I tried to tell you. I think I blew a circuit or something. I lost it at the end there." And Ace is still looking around, just totally in shock, and then just starts laughing. He's like, "You know what? It's like all the adrenaline wore off," and he starts laughing, which is like a good ending to that. You don't want him to go laughing and then go crazy and kill everyone around him. But he snaps, and the next thing we see is after the two of them are laughing, he goes home to Kitty, and they're back at the cafe, and he just realized, at the cafe, he's shipping the
slot machine. Yeah.
Slot machine.
Getting rid of it.
So changing his ways is a signal he's a new man. And he says, "You know what, Kitty, would you marry me?" Just kind of out of the blue. And she, this is awesome, asks Jimbo for a quarter. and she flips it and covers her hand, and she says, "Call it." And he's like, heads? And she looks at it, never shows anybody, doesn't say anything, and goes, "I'll marry you. I'll do it." So it's just kind of a cute little like, I'm gonna put this in your face and throw this back at you, but I'm still gonna marry you, you know. And they hug and they embrace and start kissing, and Jimbo's kind of smiling, and then he realized as that earlier stuff as that had happened, he had dropped his mop and not realized he dropped his mop. And you see him kind of lean down and look down and hold his hand open, and the broom slowly raises up and into his hand, and you realize he didn't lose his powers.
Right. And it's maybe, is it a metaphor for the arousal he's feeling watching this young couple?
It kind of looks like that because the broom is just kind of like.
And it's funny that he's just watching them so happy for them. But it
so
also,
happy,
like, if
this weird throuple.
Yeah, it would be weird now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that scene constructed that way now because we all have dirty minds.
Exactly. And then we hear Rod Serling. Some people possess talent. Others are possessed by it. When that happens, the talent becomes a curse. Jimbo Cobb knew right from the beginning. But before Ace Larson learned that simple truth, he had to take a short trip through the Twilight Zone.
And it worked.
Good one.
It made his life better.
Yeah, I like the happy ending.
Me too. Love it. Next week, we have a long distance call, which is a little spooky, a little cute. And I always got it mixed up with, there's another one that's about a telephone call with an old lady getting weird calls in the night. And I always get the two mixed up, but this one is the one with the little boy. I think it's Billy Mooney, maybe. In one of his appearances where he's getting calls from his dead granny.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool on a little Fisher Price phone or whatever.
I don't remember. I know this one's famous, but I don't remember it. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, we're almost done with the taped episodes. I think Long Distance Call next week, I think, is maybe the last taped episode, if it is taped. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not too fresh on that one, but we'll find out.
There's a couple of them that have been like more fitting or more appropriate to the video, but I think for the most part, I'm glad they're out of the way because the film just looks so much better.
It does look better. I mean, yeah. I do get the arguments that like it doesn't necessarily hurt the episodes where they did it, but
right.
Film is so much. It just looks so nice.
Yeah,
cinematic.
Exactly.
All right. We'll see you guys next week, right, Joe?
All right. Yeah. Everybody take care. Thank you for listening.